So I'm really excited to introduce our first presenter of the morning, Wendy Hannant. Wendy will be sharing GenQA's experience implementing Sample Manager to track diverse sample types in an external quality assurance service for medical genomic laboratories. With about a year and a half of hands-on use, she'll discuss the benefits and applications they've made along the way, offering insights into how Sample Manager supports quality assurance beyond traditional research settings. So with that, Wendy, I'll stop sharing and let you take over.
Perfect, thank you. So as Hannah says, my name's Wendy Hannon and I'm the Operational and Quality Manager for GenQA. And today I'm going to talk to you about how we've used Sample Manager in a non-research setting. So we are a global genomic EQA or external quality assurance provider. We are based in the UK, largely in Edinburgh, but we have scientists dotted all over the country, and in fact, a few in Europe as well. We have at the moment over 2,000 participating laboratories, over 93 countries, and we offer at the moment 124 different EQAs. But as you can imagine with genomics, that's constantly expanding. So what is EQA? The World Health Organization define EQA as a system for objectively checking the laboratory's performance using an external agency or facility. And for medical laboratories, the ISO standard they follow, 15189, requires laboratories to participate in relevant EQA wherever possible. And at GenQA, we pride ourselves in offering EQA programs that check the entire examination process, including booking samples in, extracting DNA, and right through to reporting, so the post-examination processes. We offer what we call end-to-end testing. So we do cover pre-testing, so consultation and referral. We offer a number of different sample types, including DNA, fresh frozen paraffin-embedded tissue sections, blood, and all the rest of it. One of our suite of EQAs we offer tests out labs' DNA extraction methods and the quality of that from different material types. We also offer an EQA that tests how labs quantify their DNA. We offer a range of EQAs that are online only or interpretation only, so using images and various different types of data. Once the labs have tested the samples, we expect them to be able to get accurate genotype results, so the EQAs cover that. And then another feature of it is how they interpret those results. So can they correctly classify whether the variant mutation is pathogenic or benign. And then we also cover the reporting. So have they got the correct elements of a report covered so that the clinicians can decipher what's required. And then we also have a suite of genetic counselling EQAs as well. The benefits of EQA include a number of things. So for laboratories, it helps to produce a valid and accurate test result. It manages any risk. It helps to promote efficiency and innovation. It provides confidence to service users, so both patients and clinicians, that the results are correct and accurate. As I say, we offer these both nationally and internationally. So labs can then also compare between different laboratory tests or kits, any methodologies, and we include what methodologies the labs have used in our EQA reports. And it also provides ongoing education, and at GenQA we pride ourselves in the education element of our EQAs. We have a range of YouTube webinars that participants can join, and the reports that we produce at the end of an EQA also have an educational element. But the bottom line of EQA is it promotes quality improvement. EQA has detected logistical errors, errors with sample swaps, where the analysis is either incorrect or insufficient, so it's not picking up variants. That aligns with issues with manufacturers' tests or kits where they're not picking up the variants. And we have collaborated with some of these manufacturers when they've found that their kit doesn't cover a particular variant. It identifies limitations with some of the test methodologies that their labs are using. And it helps to identify gaps in the lab's procedures or their training policies, as well as any issues with software that analyse at the end. So why did we at GenQA require sample management? So what we needed was a robust system to record and track a variety of different material, both real patient and commercially bought in material. So we needed something that covered material reception, material preparation, material distribution, and material storage. Our key requirements were a data searching capability and a way of interrogating and filtering the data to meet the needs of our remote workforce. Effectively, our needs were a LIMS but in reverse, so we weren't tracking a single patient and multiple tests, but a single sample that might become different patient samples or multiples of the same sample for the same testing. And there's a wee picture here on the right that demonstrates how we've used it. We, as stated earlier, use a different variety of materials. So we use DNA, we use blood, including dried blood spot. And the picture here is of us in mass production of blood spots for distributing in our EQAs. We've used fixed cells, we use FFPE tumour sections. And then for our DNA extraction EQAs, we offer fresh tissue, blood, plasma, and saliva. And then our most recent to LabKey images and data files. So where did we start? Well, where not to start but with a wee Excel spreadsheet. And then if you've got one for one material type, then you may as well have another one. And then why not? You've got another material type, so another one. So we kind of went a bit Excel crazy, as you can see. And we decided that not to use different tabs in the same Excel spreadsheet for a different material, but just let's have lots of Excel. So in 2021, our software provider that helps us deliver our EQA came up with a software solution. But using it, we found several limitations. We found it very cumbersome to use. It was time consuming to keep updated and to receipt samples. It offered poor linking of samples at very poor search facilities. And the development of the system never really met our expectations. So in 2023, we began investigating alternative solutions. And we looked at 4 different options and took out trials for these options. And LabKey was undoubtedly the most expensive, but it was the most functional and customizable. It was the easiest interface for us to interact with. It provided sufficient storage capacity for our needs and our growing needs. It provided functional searching, which I would say is the most key thing for us. It basically solved most issues with our current system, or most limitations. And our initial experience with LabKey was really good customer experience. They engaged with us really well and helped us to develop the trial. So in 2024, we decided the beginning of 2024, we were going to implement using LabKey in earnest. So before we did this, We created different material types with both consistent and variable field types across different materials. We decided and tested numbering formats for the different materials, so how it was going to increment, and Lance wiped things for us several times and we went back to the drawing board. We tested the functionality of many of the features, so how we were going to derive samples, how we were going to use the aliquoting feature, how we could import the data, particularly from our numerous Excel spreadsheets. And then before we started using it in earnest, we fully validated all our customization and then cleared the test data before day 0 and started again from scratch. So we wiped the slate clean. Some of the key benefits that we found from using Sample Manager. One was the ability to be able to upload or update samples from a spreadsheet, which allowed us to easily import our old friends, the samples from the Excel spreadsheets, and from our old sample tracking software. And key for us was we weren't required to renumber the historic samples because obviously they were logged in our freezers under the old sample numbering systems. When we receive commercial samples, we can often receive 60 to 100 samples in one go, so it allows us to book in large numbers of these samples in a single action, taking less than 2 minutes, whereas in the previous system, it probably would have taken a whole day. And then when we measure the concentration, for example, of these samples, if we update it in our friends, the spreadsheets, we can just upload it in one go in a very quick and robust method. Another key benefit we found was being able to derive and link the samples together. So this image here is of a single FFPE block or a single FFPE tumour where we actually receive 2 blocks. So we book it in as the root sample and then lock that because effectively there's no sample associated with that. And then with these 2 blocks, we've then gone in and re-embedded them, one sample 4 times and the other block twice. And the lineage gives a really nice figure for us to be able to see visually what's happened with that FFP tumour section. It's also allowed us to pool and link samples. So this sample here was one that we have created artificially to mimic a maternal contamination sample. So we've taken 2 separate DNA samples, we've made dilutions of them to a known concentration, and then we've added different proportions of that to make up a fake sample that we can send out for EQA. And again, the visual for this is really good for us to be able to see how it all links together. Another key benefit is the searching capacity. So being able to search or filter in multiple ways and on every field. Being able to export or save these searches and being able to select multiple options or filters in the same search at the same time. And this might not translate very well across the ocean, but in the UK, we have an advert based on a meerkat, and his catchphrase is simples. And I'll hear you say that simples searching shouldn't be that complicated, but our previous system was, so this is a huge benefit for us. Other benefits we found was being able to store all our paperwork on the sample record, the ability to override the numbering system and put in what we want. So you can see that in the past that we have been able to just keep the same root sample number and just for derived make it a -1 or a -2, which helps us enormously. The ability to customize and further develop what information is recorded. So where we are just now is definitely not our end point. And the ability to update in bulk where the information is the same. That's been very useful. So originally I called this challenges, but I think discoveries is probably more apt. So the use of aliquoting, we thought this would be amazing for us, even when traditionally for FFP, we're not aliquoting, we're sectioning. The principle is the same. But what we found for us is that it's completely overloaded the system. It was slightly time consuming to update. And in reality, it's added little value. So we've gone back to the drawing board with this, and all our aliquots are currently hidden. One of the other challenges or discoveries was when we first started using the sample finder, we initially misunderstood sample properties. We were unaware that this was only linked to aliquots, but we have since discovered that parent properties did what we wanted it to do. This one is probably a challenge. When we set a field as a data type file, we can only store one file at a time. If we then upload another file, it removes the existing file. And for us, that's a bit of a challenge because we might aliquot sample, the same sample multiple times and have different paperwork we want to upload. But what I will say is this is definitely an ongoing journey of discovery, and we are keeping going with how we are using LabKey and how we can adapt, which leads neatly onto the next slide, our adaptations. Because LabKey has not been really designed for our type of business, we've had to do something outside the box. And it's made us think, how can we make use of this clever feature? So we've used source in a completely different way, where people in research might use it as a single mouse or a single patient. We've used it as to who's supplied the sample, either our medical laboratories that we liaise with or commercial suppliers. And then we've also created sources for the year that we've used the sample and the EQA we've used the sample in. We're not quite sure whether we'll continue those two in source. They might be better as a field type, but at the moment it's working quite well to link the sample to an EQA. Our next steps, so we've just introduced the material type for non-physical samples, i.e. our images and data. We felt it wasn't important to introduce that at the start, but from 2025, any images or data we receive, we will be booking into LabKey, and we plan to import all our old image and data information into LabKey. And then definitely we plan to develop the storage section and import our current storage log or logs, because we love a spreadsheet, into LabKey. And I said previously that we've stopped using aliquots, but we do sometimes purchase commercial material that is already aliquoted. And we might not use that all in a single EQA, and we might want to use that in the future. So I think aliquots for that would be very useful, because we want to be able to note down where we've stored those. So we do plan to develop the storage with those in the first instance. So before I present this slide, I'll just say I have not been paid for this presentation, but from a support perspective, we have found LabKey to be very responsive, completely reactive to any help that we want, very, very supportive, and the customer service has been excellent. Despite being 8 hours ahead of you guys, if we send an email in, we get a response almost immediately. And I have to admit, I still use Lance's email, but I will start using the help function. So I would like to say thank you to LabKey for that estimable, excellent customer service. And thank you all for listening. And if anybody would like more information on what we do, there's our GenQA website there. And also I have put up a link to our YouTube channel where we've got all our webinars.
Thank you so much, Wendy. The presentation was wonderful, and thank you for the kind words for sure. I think Lance deserves primarily all of the credit for that. So okay, so I think we're okay to take questions now. Feel free to put things in the chat or Q&A. It looks like we've got one question here around paperwork. So when you say that the paperwork is able to be stored with the record, are you attaching scans of that paperwork, or are you utilizing workflows or ELN at all, Wendy?
We're attaching scans of paperwork. So at
Yeah.
the moment, we are not using workflow at all. That
Mhm.
might be 2026 steps.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, we attach scanned copies, or quite often we've got Excel spreadsheets that we use online, and
Mhm.
we PDF them when we've completed them and just upload those.
Excellent. Yeah. And when you were talking about kind of as we're still talking about files, when you were talking about the file fields, is your aim to then be able to have multiple files stored in a single field so you wouldn't have to create like 5 different file fields per sample type?
That would definitely be useful. For example, for aliquoting, we might aliquot initially a couple of samples to send out to our validating laboratories to
Mm.
check that we're getting the correct result. And then we'll aliquot for our EQA. So it would be useful to just be able to upload both those copies to a single field.
Yeah, in that single field. Yeah. And I know that we do have some improvements planned that we've definitely been keeping your and other groups in mind for around the ability to improve sort of the file upload process as well, just in general. So that's it's good to hear and continued feedback, which we appreciate. Okay, another question here from Steve, when you decided not to use aliquoting, how do you handle sample splitting? Are you using the drive function, which actually was one of my questions. So thanks, Steve, for asking.
So our aliquoting is just to then immediately send the samples of participants. So we
Mhm.
don't need to record storage. So we've got a field that covers both the amount of aliquots we've created, and then we've got a field to upload our aliquoting form. So that information's all stored there.
Got it. Yeah. And that was really because, when we created the aliquots, it was sort of giving you a false sense of the actual data that you guys care about in
Yeah,
the system. Is
yeah,
that right? Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
I think that's really also good feedback too about how we might be able to make our reporting more granular for folks that do really want to use the aliquoting feature, but also kind of have that same struggle
yeah.
that you came up with. And then one last question maybe from me is you talked about searching and sort of the capabilities that you were using there. When you are searching, are you often are these like standardized reports that you're coming back to, or is it more sort of ad hoc that you're looking at?
It's very ad hoc. So
Okay.
it'll depend on the EQAs,
Mhm.
the leads, what information they require. Um, Sometimes we've got samples in there that are known normals. So we want to be able to search just by the term normal.
Okay.
And to be able to search that is just amazing.
Excellent.
The fact that you can put in just a paraphrase of it, so hypo instead of hypotonic infant for us has been key because our last system wouldn't let us do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and the fact that you can click number of different filters, so you can customize your search
Mhm.
to suit, which has just been game changing for us.
That's great to hear. Especially at a data management company, we love it when people are able to get their data out and use it the way they want. Okay, any other questions for Wendy? Please put it in. Otherwise, we can always sort of connect you guys later as well. I think the last thing I'll sort of oh, some more came in. The one thing I will sort of say, I'm fairly certain that everybody here identifies with the term Excel crazy, so that might be something we might want to trademark at some point. Oh, because it's so common in science. I've been accused of being that myself, so I love
In
it.
in a previous role, I was known as a database queen.
Yeah, excellent. Oh, okay. A couple more questions. What functions in Sample Manager can replace the manual numbering system of QMS documentation? Um, is that Wendy? I'm not sure you sort of were talking about QMS. Is this does that feel
We
like
use
something
different
to answer?
software for our QMS.
Okay. Yep. And then. Yeah, so I think Veronica's also asking about sort of being able to upload several files into one field, and so that's something that we'll certainly sort of look into and see how we might be able to do that. And then um, is it possible to introduce a document subgroup without an unnecessarily sample type? So yeah, so this is actually something that I've been really considering as we're building out our LIMS functionality, which is effectively a third tier of Sample Manager. And so it's something that folks could grow into to have a more I'll say more robust and more traditional sense of document management to be able to create folders and add metadata, link maybe to those files from samples or other places in the system is definitely on the roadmap for LIMS that we hope to accomplish in the next couple of years. Um, and then, yes, our electronic signatures, which I don't think when you mentioned, but a question if our electronic signatures are Part 11 compliant, and they are. And this is something actually that our validation partners as well have sort of vetted and validated as well. So, okay. Thank you so much again, Wendy. This was really wonderful and glad to see the use case for sure.
Thank you very much.